Pin the center back seam, sewing from the bottom of the skirt to the notch, then basting from the notch to the top of the skirt, as described in the sewing directions, step 13, second paragraph. Remember, when sewing from the bottom of the skirt, stitch with a length of 2.5. Be sure to backstitch at the beginning and end of that section at the notch. At the notch, begin basting the rest of the seam with a stitch length of 4 from the notch to the top of the skirt. Remember not to backstitch when you reach the top edge of the skirt. Press the center back seam to set the stitches. Then press the center back seam open to butterfly, as described in Sewing Directions step 13 in the third paragraph. It is important to press the zipper tape to make sure it is flat before pinning or sewing it to the garment. Using your seam gauge, measure and mark 3/4 of an inch down from the top edge of the skirt. Pin, then baste the zipper tape of one side of the zipper in place along one side of the center back seam allowance, as described in the sewing directions for step 14. For a centered zipper application, the zipper is installed directly under the center of the seam and top stitched to hold it in place. The zipper should first be pinned in place along the seam allowance with the zipper teeth along the seam. Don't forget to switch to a zipper foot before beginning to baste the zipper in place. Remember to stop, lower the needle, raise the presser foot, and slide the zipper pull up before finishing to ensure an even baste. For the tape technique, place tape that measures 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch centered along the seam on the right side of the fabric. The tape should be placed just above the zipper stop. Stitch the zipper in place using the tape technique as similarly described in Sewing Directions Step 15. With the top of the zipper to the left, place the needle into the center back seam and sew using a stitch length of 1.5. Pivot at the corner of the tape. Switch to a regular stitch length of 2.5 and sew to the top edge. At the top edge of the fabric, backstitch to secure the seam. Be sure that the zipper tape is properly aligned at the top edge before sewing all the way to the end and backstitching. Begin again at the top of the other side of the zipper tape, backstitching to secure, then sewing down to the end of the tape. Pivot at the corner, reducing the length of the stitch to 1.5, and sewing to the center of the seam so the needle goes down directly into the center of the seam. Leave the threads long to pull through and tie in the back on the wrong side of the fabric. Remove the tape from the center back seam. Draw the threads through using a needle to the wrong side of the fabric and tie the threads together to secure, as described in Sewing Directions Step 15. Open the center back seam by removing the basting stitches with a seam ripper, as described in Sewing Directions Step 15. From the wrong side of the fabric, remove the basting stitches from the zipper tape using a seam ripper. Once you've cut the stitches, go back and pull the threads out. With right sides together, matching notches and raw edges, pin, sew, press, finish, and butterfly the side seams.